All right, welcome into the Five Guys on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick on the Five Reasons Sports. I got Alex Donno. You can follow him at Alex Donno. We are going to talk a little Dolphins today. Make sure to check out the last episode we did on the Heat. Also, new Five on the Floors are on the channel, as well as Inside Leverage show last night. Tonight, Scouting Combine, which is Hussam and Eric Smith. So plenty of Dolphins content, plenty of Heat content. And yes, I have to mention this too. Plenty of Hurricanes content as well. We know obviously you've got your own program, which Locked On Canes, which is just
I support
tremendous show.
So yeah, thank you so much, and I support all the content because and the guys and girls from Six Ring on this network know that I support them and I love the work that they do. So I'm just glad that the Canes are giving us a lot to talk about so far.
They're relevant. They may be more relevant than the team we're going to talk about today. And speaking of that team, you can find them on Better Edge right now. That's right. They're 3-point dogs to the Colts, 3.5 there actually. But here's the difference between Better Edge and everything else. See at the bottom there, if you're watching the YouTube channel, 5 orders, liquidity. Basically, you're betting against others. You're choosing your lines. It's like betting against your friends. So you can find other lines on there. They come in at different numbers. And so you can check them out with the order books and everything else that price is in there. So check it out. One of the other things about Better Edge, again, to BETTOREDGE.com is that you don't pay a VIG. So you're not just giving money to the house there. And again, you can find the line that you want. We also are running a weekly contest. We have that for the NFL. So go to betteredge.com. Again, use that code 5. This number 5RSN. And I always forget to mention this. They give you $20 to play, so you can get started right away. All right. Speaking of the Dolphins, I kind of forgot about them. I know it's weird. It's football season, and obviously this is the time where I sort of pivot to the Heat. But I make this, but the fact that the Hurricanes are interesting too, and the Panthers have started, and they've already had some news with Barkov and Kachuk getting hurt. This is the time of year like it should be all Dolphins conversation. And yes, we have Inside Leverage show, we got Scouting Combine, we've got Pulse of Phins Nation on our network, and of course we got 3 Yards Per Carry and all Dolphins podcasts. So we do plenty of Dolphins stuff. But again, it feels. I don't know. Like this season has just gone adrift, and then they had a bye. Like they won a game against a horrible team. They've lost Jalen Phillips for the season already. Tua's coming back, but we don't know when. I don't know. It's like all the talk is and nationally is, are they going to trade Tyreek Hill? Like we're just in a very weird place, and I just feel like the win against New England aside, like if they don't follow that with a win against the Colts, then we start to talk about this again as kind of a lost season where they're going to be chasing it the whole time.
You know, and it's not so much the fact that the team obviously has been really bad for the most part this year, although they do come off a win, like you mentioned, against New England. But I really think Tua, having been out already for several weeks, and, you know, like you mentioned, McDaniel did say Tua is going to come back at some point this year, just didn't specify when. I mean, even in the last several years, Tua has been the hot button topic on all the national shows, for better or for worse, right? If he's doing really well, they talk about him. If he has a bad game, they talk about him to death. Like, you know, I was watching, you know, sometimes when I'm going through kind of my morning routine at home, and I work from home primarily, I'll just have Good Morning Football just on in the background for hours. That show lasts for like 7 hours. I think they like replay the show, you know, all day long on NFL Network. But I have this morning, I have Good Morning Football on in the background for like 3 hours. I don't even think they mentioned the word Dolphins even once during that broadcast, right? I mean, I find myself watching First Take less and less these days, which I highly recommend. It'll make for just a much more peaceful life. But the times that I do watch it, I haven't heard them or seen them bring up the Dolphins. And I think it has more to do with Tua being out than anything else, because if they're not scrutinizing or criticizing or occasionally even praising Tua, there's not a whole lot else to talk about with this team. But you're right, the Dolphins, at least for right now, coming off the bye doesn't help, but the Dolphins have kind of become just one of these teams nobody talks about, maybe outside of people within this community.
Yeah, I mean, it's no offense to Ty Huntley, but like you're not talking a lot about a team with Ty Huntley. You know, and that's I feel like this team has become sort of associated specifically with Tua and Tyreek. Like that's what this has become over the past couple of years. I don't think most of the national media would recognize a whole bunch of the Dolphins players on defense, except maybe Jalen Ramsey. And so I do think that they're in this sort of weird spot where we talked about them as, certainly a playoff contender, an AFC East contender. Now but now it feels like the season's over, and yet they're one game out of first in the AFC East. So this is in many ways a swing game. Because I'm glad they were able to right themselves against the Patriots, because that would have been embarrassing. But that is a terrible football team that they just beat, and they squeaked by. So it's not like things are fixed. Like, it's not. It's just that they basically lived, to be relevant for another day. Now that day is Sunday. Like, they have to win this game. I come back to it because, again, we don't know when Tua's coming back. We know he's going to play at some point this year, but you don't want to rush him back. And I don't think they will do that because of all the concerns and the particular type of injury this is. But you don't want to rush him back because you're chasing, right? Because you're chasing. Like, you have to get him back now. And you want to at least be able to make a patient decision there. And then the goal is to be as strong as you can for the final 6 or 7 games of the season with a chance to get in the postseason. And you see what he does. And so that's kind of where it's at. And then how many players do you lose on the way to that, right? Because now we talked so much in the offseason, like they're going to generate pass rush. Well, Phillips is coming back. I think he came back too soon. I think that probably could be had. And I don't blame him because he is that type of person. Like, he just, he wants to be out there so bad. It's one of the things everybody likes about him. But now you look at it and you're like, okay, is there a compensation injury there? You never know, but he's back. Chubb's not back yet. How many other guys are going to go down over the course of this? And they can't afford a lot of injuries at certain positions. So I don't view them obviously as a Super Bowl contender anymore. But that division kind of sucks. The Bills, I think, dominating them in the first game, let everybody believe they're great. They're not. And the Jets, I'm sorry. Devontae Adams is a tremendous football player. Aaron Rodgers is not what he was. And I said before the year that team was overrated. So, and they play each other Sunday, Alex. So
yeah.
One of them, if Miami wins, then one of them is going to be Miami will be, tied or ahead. I guess. Well, the Jets are what, 2-3, and the Bills are 3-2. So, if you get a Jets win against the Bills, then and the Dolphins win, they're tied for first place. So it's not a lost cause at this point.
And, the last couple of weeks, and again, I know they won against New England, so I don't want to make it sound like it was a loss. But for certain things, looking discombobulated, especially with the quarterback who'd only been in town for like a week and a half, 2 weeks at that point, there were definitely excuses you could make as to why, your team wasn't running as a well-oiled machine. And that's despite, that's besides being without your starting quarterback, because there's a lot of other NFL teams that have played and won games without their starting quarterbacks, right? I mean, the Dolphins seem to have more of a backup crisis than anyone else when it came to quarterbacks, but you have plenty of reasons to at least think the team is going to put their best foot forward in Indianapolis this weekend, because outside of the serious season-ending type of injuries, full participation in practice this week. This is an area where you really benefit coming off the bye week, including Devon Achane, who we're expecting to see back this weekend with a running game that looked pretty good, mostly without him against New England. He went out early in that game, and the running game was still established. And then in the case of Snoop Huntley, again, you don't expect him to be Tua, but he's now had an extra week, including a weekend off, to immerse himself in the offense. And he came back early from whatever day they had off during the bye. He and the receivers came back early to throw and build some chemistry with one another. I would imagine he's much more, in tune with the McDaniel offense than he was, the first couple of starts that he had where he was just literally thrown right into the fire. So, you would expect you'd probably get it. He was okay against New England, but you're probably going to get Tyler Huntley's best game in a Dolphin uniform this weekend. So the Dolphins are going to have that opportunity. And then kind of on the flip side, Ethan, we were joking about this off the air with Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson is coming back from injury. I'm not sure if that's a good thing for Indy. That might be a good thing for the Dolphins. I'd rather face, because it's one of those things where you're trying to establish the young quarterback versus you're probably better off this weekend if you still had Joe Flacco starting there. Dolphins are 3-6 all time against Flacco. So I'd rather go up against Anthony Richardson and maybe pick up a couple of turnovers than I would against Flacco. So that might work in the Dolphins' favor as well.
Yeah, it might. I mean, I feel like they'd be losing to Joe Flacco when he's 50. We've seen him tear them apart before. And yeah, Richardson can be very inconsistent. And like you said, coming off an injury, you don't know how sharp he's going to be. So, and this is a defensive coordinator who I think has been one of the more impressive things about this season so far. If you talk about positive takeaways, he seems to know what he's doing. And the players seem to be responding to him. And that's a good thing. All right, on the other side, we'll get to some of the keys in this game against the Colts. Before we do, I want to mention a great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, our friend Mark, his team over at U-Break Wheel Fix. That's U-Break Wheel Fix in North Miami. You can reach out to him at 305-748-0112. Want to mention this, in addition to checking out U-Break Wheel Fix, that's with a U at the start, on Instagram or ubreakwheelfix.com. If you mention 5 Reasons, you get 5.5% off your next repair. So pretty good deal there. Also, if your wheels are just looking weathered, they're not damaged, but they're weathered, you can freshen them up because they do the powder coating and all the cool colors. So reach out to them, 305-748-0112 or ubreakwheelfix.com. All right, so let's go back to the Dolphins side of this, Alex. Huntley looked a little more comfortable in the last game, but I still don't feel like they're just going to totally open the playbook there. And now they got to something that worked, which was running the ball between the tackles, particularly with Jalen Wright and Raheem Mostert. Do you think he'll stay with it? Or do you think after the bye he's going to be inclined to play mad scientist here? I'm talking about McDaniel.
God, I hope not. I mean, I think you stick with what really right now until Tua returns, what should be your bread and butter, and that's running the football and trying to establish that. The Colts have a better than average rush defense. I'm looking at it right now. I think they're around 10th or 11th in the league against the run. So it's not they're not world beaters when it comes to their rush defense, but they are better than average in that department. But I think it's something that clearly worked for the Dolphins last time around, run to set up the pass, and having Achane back, presumably completely healthy this week, cleared for protocol, we assume, and back out there working. So yeah, I don't get it too complicated, right? I mean, it's one thing when you've got Tua Tagovailoa, who the offense was designed for, and he knows it frontwards and backwards. I know you've got a lot of shiny toys and weapons in the passing game you'd like to get it out to, but I don't trust Tyler Huntley to truly open up the playbook. Maybe he's made so many strides during the bye, but there's a reason why you're picking this guy off a practice squad at the time you signed him, right? It's not as if you took an elite starting quarterback off someone else's team. So no, I mean, I would hope you can lean on your defense and keep the game close, maybe even play with a lead and be able to keep your running game going. Because God forbid you fall down, 10 points early on, you're going to have to spread it out and attack down the field. But I would try to go with the same bread and butter. And the Dolphins did come from behind in the New England game. So it's not as if they couldn't, come back in a game, by running the football a lot. But that's definitely what I would lean on this week. Don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, I think that we've kind of seen what some of the limitations are on this team in terms of their receivers beyond Hill and Waddle. Again, we'll see what Beckham can actually provide here. I just think, Mostert being out, we didn't focus on it that much because I think there was a feeling that you could kind of plug and play with Achane. But, there is a certain, I think, confidence with him that he's going to get the yardage that's available. And I just think with this team that's necessary. And Wright has a little bit of Mostert, and he's got a little bit of Devon Achane. Like he's got a little of both. And I think they can lean into him a little bit more here. And I think use Devon as more of an outside threat because, to add to what they already have. So, look, this team is not fixed, okay? This team has clear holes, and now they've got injury issues. But they're going to be kept in this thing by the fact that the division is not good. And we said that before the season. You and I did an entire episode before the season about the AFC East. And I do not think the Bills are a championship contending team. Now, adding, a big play receiver, which they just did, will certainly help them. But I don't see them, and you get 4-2 now, right? That's right, 4-2, not 3-2. But I don't know. I don't. I mean, you look at them. It's funny too. In the AFC as a whole, if you scroll down a little bit, their net points are plus 39, right? Okay, you got the Steelers. What is that? A plus 38. Look how few big numbers there are on the net. Like nobody's running away with this conference right now. Like in terms of the way that they're actually, I mean, the Jaguars are minus 65, my God. But the Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champs plus 33. Now, this was supposed to be the stronger conference. Now go to the NFC for a second here. Okay. I mean, look how many teams are up there in terms of, I mean, you've got the Vikings and the Lions. I mean, the entire NFC North. It has a better net than any team in the entire AFC. And so that tells you like the conferences are a little different than we anticipated. And to me, that net is a pretty good indication of how good a team really is. And it just does not appear there's a dominant team in the AFC this year. And there's dominant quarterbacks, but I don't think there's a dominant team. And I think we've mixed the two things up. And so I don't think the teams around Mahomes and Allen in particular are as good as maybe they've been in the past. And so they got a chance to get in this, Alex. Do you think they will? I guess that's the question. I'll let you close here. You think they come off the bye with a win?
I'm gonna say yes, and that's assuming Anthony Richardson, who I did watch him quite a bit in college. Like he can burn you in a lot of other ways, and just with his strong arm, obviously he can grind you up on the ground as well. So assuming they can keep him somewhat contained into being a passer, I don't think he's gonna light up the stat sheet from an offensive standpoint. And yeah, I think the Dolphins can run the football in this game. So I'm actually going to go with the very slight upset, and I don't that's not a homer pick because Ethan, when it comes to the Dolphins, I do not hesitate to pick losses with the way that they've let me down at times. I'm not even sure if I thought they were going to beat New England heading into the last game. I think I might have even picked New England to win that one. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins to actually string together their first winning streak of the season on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think so too. I think this is a game where they get a couple of key turnovers, and there's the pivot. If they win this game, and then we get the news that Tua is coming back, then all of a sudden people start to get excited again, and that to me is why this game matters so much. All right, thanks to our sponsors, Better Edge. Use the code 5RSN. Our friends over at UBreak Wheel Fix. Alex and I will be back next Tuesday. By then, we'll be pivoting to the Heat's regular season. I guess we're getting close.
That's gonna be fun.
That's coming up. We've got they open next Wednesday, so yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll be doing Heat Talk on Tuesday. It's right away already. Thanks, Alex. Everybody have a good day. Check out the rest of the content on the channel. Make sure you turn the notifications on. We got a lot of